It's a new year, y'all. And for me, I've never been one to do resolutions. I do solutions. And for the past almost 2 years, I've been drinking AG1 every single day, thanks to my brother, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who turned me on to this incredible product. Every day, every morning, no exceptions, just one scoop and a glass of water. They also make packs that you can travel with. That's been very, very helpful for me as a active touring person. Having these packets with me all around the world has been really, really helpful. So if you're a musician or somebody that is always on the go, the travel packs are incredible. AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, and pre and probiotics. It's very powerful, it's very healthy, and it's really simple, man. Healthy aging shouldn't feel complicated. The thought of taking multiple supplements and all these types of vitamins and stuff and powders, it's truly exhausting for me. I've never been one to take a lot of multivitamins anyway throughout my whole life. I always prided myself in just eating vegetables and eating all the stuff I need naturally, not in a pill form. So this is incredible. It covers my nutrient gaps. It supports my mental and physical health. AG1 is hassle-free, 60 seconds every morning. It's the high-quality ingredients of pre and probiotics, adaptogens and antioxidants, and whole food sourced nutrients. I drink it every single day. Every batch of AG1s goes through rigorous testing processes, and their ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrient density. If there's one product I can suggest you guys, is the AG1s, man. This has been a life changer for me. So go to ag1.com/OLLC and you can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. With AG1, I know I'm getting essential brain, gut, and immune health support, vitamins, probiotics, and nutrients for the day, and it's helped my mental and physical. So if there's one thing I can recommend to you guys, it's AG1s. It's my nutritional insurance. I pride myself as almost being 54 years old, not going to the doctor all the time. Knock on wood. I've been healthy my whole life and try to strive to be a healthy person, stay young, stay full of energy, and still do the things I love that I did as a kid. That's why I still skateboard, play music, exercise. So start the year off right. AG1, ag1.com/OLLC. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. If you want to just get Liquid Death water, go to amazon.com. But for the merchandise and other cool items, exclusive items, go to liquiddeath.com/Toby and get free shipping. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. I have my friend Erica Daking here in my kitchen, which we were just talking. I haven't seen her in like 5 years at least.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Just, hi, welcome.
Thank
It's weird,
you.
right? With like catching up on recording.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Of course. You've been here a long time ago.
Yes.
Now you have 3 kids. Now you have kitchen mouse. And you have 2 kitchen mouses now.
2 kitchen mouses.
And maybe a third on the way.
Yep. The cafe, the bakery, and soon to be a little walk-up spot.
So yeah, it's all the rage in Highland Park. It's like a landmark. It's like one of the most, well-known, appreciated, and loved spots over there, right?
Oh, thanks for saying that. Yeah, we've been really lucky. We opened 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And let me turn my ringer off.
2014?
2014 we opened.
Yeah.
I signed the lease in 2012. It took about a year and a half to build and get open.
Yeah. And that was inspired by a lady named Jill who had you come out and do some catering for photo shoots?
Yeah, so I had recently graduated from culinary school, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And after a string of jobs that maybe we'll end up talking about, I got this job hired by this woman, Jill. Like, Joe had taken a job going on tour playing bass for this band, and at the time we were so broke, and it wasn't a project he'd worked on before, and he like took the tour, even though he was sort of conflicted about it at the time, and it ended up being like a really great thing. We're still friends with those with the girls, their band. And on that tour, he met this woman named Jill backstage. The tour was with Coldplay, I think.
What?
Yes.
What?
And
he was on tour with Coldplay.
Yes.
All the listeners know right now I'm freaking out. It's one of my favorite bands. That's crazy. Okay.
Coldplay is our baby's favorite band. I listen to more Coldplay than you would.
Are you serious?
Ever believe.
Wow. Baby's got good taste already.
So yes, he went on this tour with Coldplay and he was backstage and, he was at catering and he, had his plate of food and he went to go sit down and he sat down at this random table with some women and they started talking and, he was like, my wife's a chef and talking about the quality of the food. And this woman, Jill, was at the table, who's still a good friend of mine, and was like, give me her number. I'll hire her. I'm a producer. I cater photo shoots. Wow. And I'm always looking for chefs and looking for people. So like, give me your number. And then she called me.
She actually went through with it because most people are like, yeah, I got you. I'll take care of you. You know what I mean? A lot of people say that in this world.
It's so true. And she actually called and I was like, so ready for an opportunity like that. Like I was so just positioned and ready and like I had no idea what it meant to cater a photo shoot or how to do it. And Monica did it with me, our mutual friend Monica.
Parker, and what up?
And we not only did it successfully, I think it went overboard and it ended up going well. And then one job led to another job. And then by the end of the year, I was so busy, I couldn't manage. And I was really working so hard. And at the time I didn't have any kids and that was fine and doable. And I was really able to put in the crazy hours and like get the business going. Yeah. And by the end of the year, I actually ended up calling my chef from culinary school and hired him. Wow. And we worked together for years and I was like doing all of this out of my kitchen at home and it was really overwhelming and really difficult. So I was living in Highland Park at the time. And so I found this spot on Figueroa next to a gallery and the gallery was owned by these photographers that I cooked for all the time now because I was doing photo shoots and I was really friendly with them. So it just felt like, let's do this. It was super cheap. Mm-hmm. It had been sitting there empty for a while. And the landlord was like, I'm doing nothing for you, but your rent is really cheap. And so I was like, okay, now I have to do this build out. And I had these business partners who gave me the money to build it out in exchange for a chunk of the company. And I was able to build it out and then get the catering company running out of there. And then we opened the cafe. And at the time I had absolutely zero expectations for the cafe. I wasn't expecting success. I wasn't expecting what ended up happening. So we had about like 12 seats and it was tiny. And I was like, oh, back in the kitchen, we'll run the catering company and the cafe and it'll be fine. And it was insane. And so, we ended up expanding one way and then the other way.
Damn.
And taking 3 storefronts and for more dining room, for more kitchen. And then we started like quickly outgrowing that as well. And actually pre-pandemic, in 2020, we were about to close escrow and get the keys to our first building we were going to buy. Wow. We got this really hefty SBA loan and we were going to buy this building in Pasadena. And like the day we were supposed to sign all the paperwork and it was supposed to be official was the day they closed the NBA down due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, my business partners, we got on the phone and they were like, we trust you. We're going to let you make this decision. Like make it. So I like had to sit there by myself and just go, is this smart? Like,
yeah, it's a big decision.
So I ultimately decided to pull out. And also there were other circumstances, like the person we were buying the building from, we were having some other issues with. So we were able to get out of the deal. And, there was some mourning that goes with like, we were really excited about it.
Yeah,
and it was a big deal for us. But then a week later, I had to send my whole staff home. And I was like, thank fucking God that we
totally
probably not supposed to
you can
curse.
swear, you can swear.
Okay. I was like, thank God that we, didn't move forward with that. And, we had about 72 employees at the time, and we went down to 8 of us. Wow. And we, I remember, like the day I sent everyone home and we were closing the line down in the kitchen.
It must be so hard.
And I had the single tear coming down my cheek. And one of my chefs at the time was like, we really had no idea what we were in for. And she was just like, why are you crying? It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I was like, I just knew like when you've built something like that and it's running, and when you take it all apart, that no matter what, even if we were back in 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, it was going to take so much to put it back together, and it was never going to be the same. And that's what we've been dealing with Has it not been the same since? No. I mean, it'll never be the same. I don't think anything will ever be the same.
The world won't be, but I'm saying your restaurant, is it thriving again? After coming out of this? We're
trying to figure out how to make money again. Like our sales are back, our customers are back, but everything is so expensive.
Yeah.
Labor is so much more expensive, which I'm fine with, like food costs, gas, everything. Like we're okay. We've made it through. I believe that we're going to be fine and better than ever, but there's no denying it's been extremely challenging and scary, and we would not have made it through without the government assistance and the money that we got through the Restaurant Relief Fund, through the Paycheck, Protection Program. And we just last week finally got our official letters of forgiveness for all of that.
What does that mean for the listeners? Letters of forgiveness.
So basically
wipe everything.
The government gave you all this money, but you had to prove that you used it in a way by their guidelines.
Yeah.
And so while I knew that we did that and I didn't have any question about that, I didn't trust that it was going to be forgiven until I saw it. And and so that's been a huge relief.
So that means you're all clean, with everything's clear with the government, and you're good to go.
Yes.
And you followed all the procedures. And was that tricky too? Was that stressful?
It was so difficult to apply for those loans, and
not everybody got them either. Yeah.
No, and I've had conversations about the fact that there are probably so many people who didn't get those loans who deserved them or needed them just because they were so hard to navigate.
Yeah.
And to get the paperwork together and the numbers together, and not everyone is that organized or has the ability to do that. So, but we were really lucky.
Are you a pretty organized person?
I excel at admin in that way, so it was fine.
Did you guys do anything different to survive the pandemic? Like, did you change things up? Did you do? I know some people were doing different kinds of foods and different deliveries and different items.
Oh my God, we did it
everything.
All. We did it all. We pivoted a million times, and it was exhausting, and. We became a grocery store, and then we became an online grocery store, and we had all the, we didn't really do a lot of delivery business pre-pandemic. Now, so much of our business is pick up and delivery. And that's cool. It's one of the cool things that's come out of this. Also, all the outdoor seating, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really
awesome.
helpful. But then we brought back part of our menu, then a lot of our menu. Now our menu is bigger than it's ever been because, like I was saying, it's like you take everything apart, you build it back, and it doesn't exactly go back the same way it was before. And we're still trying to have to figure things out. Yeah. Yeah.
So going back a little bit too, you always wanted to be like a chef, right? Growing up, and your parents cooked a lot at home?
When I was really little, I used to watch cooking shows all the time. And, from the time I was 12 on, I just, I wanted to be a musician and I wanted to play music, but I never just wanted to do that. I was always inspired to do other things as well. And in hindsight, what I do now makes so much sense in so many ways, because it really sort of mirrors a lot. Like my parents had a bakery. My parents were both musicians. My mom was a singer. My dad was a drummer. My dad was in a one-hit wonder 60s band.
Yep.
And growing up,
Blue Magoos.
the Blues Magoos, yeah.
The Blues Magoos, yeah.
And then, my parents had a recording studio in Midtown Manhattan, and that
Jingle
was
Studios, right?
And it was called Messina Music. And my dad is an engineer, and my mom wrote and produced music for TV commercials mostly. And the studio was really beautiful, and they also rented it out to other artists, and a lot of records were made there, including Cyndi Lauper records and other
Your dad
people.
engineered that, right? One of them, according to the interwebs.
I don't think he engineered it. Okay. I could be wrong.
And he toured with The Who in 1967?
He did.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And your mom worked at a cookie factory?
My mom, so what happened was like my parents would do these commercials, and one year for Christmas, my mom wanted to send something to all of her clients. So she made cookies and sent all of her clients these cookies, and people freaked out over them, even though it was just the recipe from the back of, the chocolate chips or whatever. So it became a thing where she would send these cookies out, and then she started buying cookie jars and sending them out in cookie jars. And then she had 2,000 cookie jars and became this huge cookie jar collector, and then opened a bakery, and then next to the bakery opened a card shop, and then opened a kids clothing store.
Wow.
And I would always tell this story.
Sounds like somebody I know.
Yes, right.
Crazy.
That I would tell it like she was, crazy and ambitious. And then I was like, man, I did the same thing. Like,
totally did.
Yeah. And, I was thinking about it on the way over, and, one of my first jobs that I got out of culinary school, I worked at Shangri-La Studios in Rick Rubin's studio out in Malibu. And what I would do is I would cook for bands that were in the studio. And it was funny because I did that as a kid with my mom.
Yeah.
Growing up in New York, we lived just outside Manhattan in Katona.
Westchester County?
In Westchester. And we rented the house next to us. My dad built a studio in the house. And Joan Osborne recorded that What If God Was One of Us record there.
Are you serious?
And my mom and I would cook dinner for them every night.
Wow.
And then I ended up doing that just randomly when I was 30, cooking for bands in the studio. And it's a strange thing.
That is so crazy. I didn't realize you even were born in New York too. I always thought you were a Cali kid for some reason. I don't know why.
No.
It's crazy. And then you only have one sibling, just Jennifer?
No, there are 4 of us.
Okay.
When my parents got married, my dad had a son and my mom had a daughter, and then they had the 2 of us, Jen and I. And I'm the youngest, so for me, they've always been around, and they were just my siblings and always there. And
how was it growing up there, upstate New York?
Not upstate.
It's not. Westchester's not upstate?
No.
How far is it from the city?
It's 55 minutes.
Would they call that close to upstate? No, they don't call it that. I think anything out of Manhattan's like upstate to me. I'm sorry. I think of like Poughkeepsie and like Albany. Is it near that?
No, I mean, Poughkeepsie, I think I got my driver's license there, but it's farther, and Albany's much farther.
Okay, so upstate's like Syracuse, Buffalo?
Yes.
Okay, my bad. Sorry to the New York listeners. But how was it growing up there? And did you go when's the first time that you went to the city or something when you were young?
Well, I always grew up going to the city because my parents had the recording studio my whole life. So I spent a lot of time. It was on 45th between 9th and 10th. And I remember like I was like really familiar with that area and like Midtown and the Upper West Side. And I didn't go to the Village or
the Bowery,
below 14th Street until I was probably 12. And,
it's a different world.
Never went to Brooklyn,
Downtown was such a different too back then too.
Yes. But then, once I turned 12, I started, going to shows and going to the Village all the time and playing guitar and
going to like punk shows at 12?
Not punk shows, just like alternative and anything from Sonic Youth and Juliana Hatfield and whole we went to every show. We were front and center at the Academy in Roseland, and we would go see the Lunatics all the time, and
Super young, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Going
we
to
started
shows.
really young.
And then why guitar?
I think when I was 11 or 12, I went to go see Juliana Hatfield play. And I just like picked up a guitar the next day and started playing.
It's cool. And then how are you in school and stuff? Did you like school?
I did really well in school, and I was a fine student.
Good grades.
Good grades until when I was in high school, I was so ready to move on that I actually, by the time I was in high school, I went to school in Manhattan on 61st, and I was ready to move on, and I went to night school, and I doubled up on my classes, and I skipped a year of high school.
Wow.
And I moved to Boston and went to college in Boston, which is where I met Joe.
That's right.
And I joined F- in what would have been my senior year of high school.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then I toured with you guys in what would have been my first year of college.
That is so crazy. And F-, so how does that happen with F-? Because they're a West Coast band.
So you didn't know I was from New York, but
I know.
And it's funny because I always knew who you guys were because, you know, I'd go to Generation Records and I was such like a record fiend at that age. And I'd, you know, always see Moon on the cover of that 7-inch. And, you know, I'd always see all the H2O shirts and around town. But I was walking down the street. No, I was actually outside CBGB's. And
so how do you get to CBGB's? Like, what was your first like punk thing? How you ended up going to CBGB's? Like, how do you find punk?
How did I find
was
punk?
it through like Hole and other bands you saw? It had to be. Who knows?
No, I actually, you know, I was getting into punk adjacent kind of bands, but what we ended up meeting from the local skate shop, a group of kids that we started hanging out with all the time. And one of them was the drummer of the Casualties. I don't know if you remember the Casualties.
Of course. Still around. Yes.
Still around. Yeah. But
probably the same drummer, maybe. Who knows?
Meggers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my sister dated Meggers for years.
Okay.
And so, you know, I spent my teenage years going to 5 million Casualties shows and all these different punk shows around town. And I, I met Brad on the street. And we started talking, and he was like, "You play in a band?" And I played him my demo tape, and then I ended up running into him outside of Trash and Vaudeville, I think, and he was with Sturgeon.
Okay.
And we ended up like, I was just like killing time, and he was just walking around, and we ended up becoming friends and like spending the day together. And then one day when I was living in Boston, he called and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about joining my band and flying to LA and making this record with us? We need a guitar player." And, you know, I was 18, freshly 18. And I was like, "Sounds amazing." And at the time I convinced my college to give me credit for flying out, because I went to this super arty school that didn't have grades, and it was all just about your body of work. And I was like, "I'm gonna go to LA, I'm gonna make this record, like give me credit for it." And they were like, "Okay." So I went out and
credit for the F- record. That's amazing.
I went out and I met Adam and Jen for the first time, and Brad had never heard me play guitar. He just like, you know, except for this demo tape, and like he just took a huge leap of faith. And
it's amazing.
He lived with Tim and Brody at the time. So I stayed with them, and I stayed in their guest room.
Obviously you knew who Rancid were before that, right?
Oh yeah, of course. I was like, it was
that's so
also
wild
surreal, you know. And and Brody had just made the first Distillers record, and they were like in the phase when I was staying there of like listening to the finished album, and you know, so
incredible album.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that's when Brody and I became friends. And it was like just being thrown into it, you know. And Tim produced that record that we made. And we made that record. And then a few months later, I played my first show ever, which was the record release show for AFI's Black Sails.
Jesus. So you had no bands before this? And what was your demo?
I was in this band called I Hate Lucy.
Okay.
With my good friends Jeremy and Jeannie, and that was like my high school band, and
Is this opposite of I Love Lucy?
yes.
Gotcha. That's punk. I like it.
And I really didn't have, every now and then, like if, I think I played bass for a couple Casualty shows just because like someone didn't show up or couldn't make it, or I'd get up on stage or whatever, but I'd never really played in a band before. And
it's a lot.
I had like such bad stage fright, and I was so nervous when we played what's that venue in San Francisco called? Like the one
Bottom of the Hill?
No.
Troubadour?
No, I can't remember what it's called, but it was that.
Berkeley Square?
No, it was in San Francisco proper.
There's so many of them, man.
But we played there, and I remember like I just got like I drank too much and was so nervous and got up on stage and made it through or whatever. But it was then
it's a crazy first show.
It was a crazy first show, and it was packed, and Tim was there making like some sort of video documentary and filming
the camera,
filming the whole thing, and which just added a whole level, and it was really nerve-wracking. But then we just started playing a bunch of shows, and then February of the following year I was in college, and they called and they were like, hey, do you want to go on tour with H2O on a tour bus in Europe?
Oh my God, that's right.
And I was like, of course, like of course, like go to, because that
was a fun tour.
Being a teenager and like watching all my friends' bands, like these punk kids get to tour the world and to have all these amazing opportunities and like go to Japan and go all over Europe. And I was like, that's insane that being in a band affords you these opportunities to like see the world. And like, I want to do that. That's amazing. And so when I got this opportunity to go on tour with you guys, I was like, didn't even think twice. I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to see the world and get to do it, like playing music. And it was awesome. And I told Maggie the story recently. I remember like we flew in and we got on the tour bus, and you opened your suitcase and it was filled with like vegan hot dogs and like and all this.
Totally. There was no options back then. That is so fucking funny.
And yeah, that was my first experience with like really, backstage food and bread and cheese, and like I don't know, like to this day, like most of my memories, and like, because I have a terrible, terrible memory. If it wasn't for my sister and Joe, like I always say, I wouldn't remember my life. But like, I remember food, like what meals we ate, and like all the like home cooked meals that they like bring you backstage at the venues, like so good. Like backstage vegan food was so good. And
I know. What were you majoring in college at that time?
I started as an art major, and it was very loose. And then I ended up going to school for audio engineering and music business. And that's
like your
when
pops.
I always say, like, I grew up in a recording studio, and to me, like, the board just looked like a spaceship, and I couldn't figure out what all those buttons did. And like when I was in art school, I took an audio engineering class, and there was this woman who was this amazing teacher. And in like one class, she broke it down in a way where I was like, oh, I get it. Like, it's just a bunch of the same thing a bunch of times on the board. And like, it really piqued my interest. And I was like, I really want to understand this thing that I grew up around that I don't know how to do. And so I ended up doing a semester of audio engineering, and I probably would have finished and was into it, but then I dropped out to tour with you guys.
Wow, I'm sorry about that. Can you think you'd read a soundboard still to this day and know what it means and stuff? Everything.
And I mean, I also played in bands for a long time after that and spent a lot of time in recording studios. And my dad has a line of recording equipment now. He makes, mic pre's and compressors. It's called Daking.
Wow, I know that.
Yeah, so he makes consoles and recording equipment, and I've seen a lot of the. It's like when you buy something from him, you also get him. Like he installs it, and
that's cool.
When you have a question, you call him on the phone, and
I love that.
So I've met a lot of people through that as well.
Yeah, since he is a musician, he wasn't tripping on you leaving college for that. Were your parents worried about it?
No. No.
They were supportive of it.
I
for
mean,
sure.
neither of my parents graduated from college. And I think because of that, they really wanted their kids to graduate from college.
Yeah.
And like my oldest sister didn't, then my brother didn't, and then Jen didn't, and then I didn't. And then Jen ended up going back and finishing her credits and getting a degree, but none of us have college degrees. I went to culinary school and I have my certificate or whatever, but I never graduated.
And you ended up going to culinary school. Was that in Rome or was that here? Because you worked in Rome at a restaurant, right?
Outside of Rome.
But where was the school?
I went,
French technique à la cordon bleu. I can't say it.
I went to Le Cordon Bleu, which is actually...
That's where Chef Tall went from Crossroads. That's right. I know that. Okay.
You know when you'd go to the ArcLight and you'd see that culinary school across the way?
Yeah.
That's where I went.
Okay.
And so when you finish, you have to go work in a restaurant somewhere to finish your credits. And I got this opportunity to go to this restaurant outside of Rome.
How old are you then when this happens?
I was 30.
Okay.
And it was an amazing opportunity. And I lived in this like little village and had this little apartment and worked at this amazing restaurant that was this woman's retirement. She was like, so had some sort of corporate job in Rome, and her retirement was moving to the country and opening this restaurant with her husband. And so she was not like this formal chef. She would open, these magazines and find recipes, and she just had a really good palate, and she made amazing food, and it was all just really simple and rustic and great. And coincidentally, there was a yoga retreat in town, and they would come through a lot with these big groups of people, and they would always request vegan meals. Mm-hmm. So I was simultaneously having this experience of cooking these really authentic, beautiful vegan Italian meals. And it was really inspiring. And she had just really unusual combinations of she cooked with ginger in Italian food and used really surprising ingredients. And I learned a lot from working there. It was really great.
Yeah, were you cooking a lot leading up to that? Obviously, just cooking at home always your whole life?
I was always really into cooking and really into food. And just prior to going to culinary school, my mom died, and my mom was born and raised in Manhattan in East Harlem. And she was one of 8 kids, and we had a huge Italian family. And I grew up eating a lot of Italian food, blah, blah, blah. But after she died, I got really, really, really into watching cooking shows and really into cooking. And Joe and I made this record, and we had our friend come out and live with us, and we built a recording studio in our basement. And as part of the deal, we were like, look, we'll house you and I'll cook all the food and I'll feed you. And every day I would make us these meals, and I was just super inspired. And we were making this record, and I took no offense, but every time I'd make a meal, he'd be like, Erica, this is what you should be doing. This is what you should do. Mm. And I was, after a while I listened, and I was we had just signed with this label, and we were making this record, and we were making music videos, and this label was really investing a lot into us. And I remember one day I went to George, who was the head of that, and I was just like, I want to go to culinary school. And he was so supportive, and he ended up becoming my business partner.
Wow. And still is?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. What's crazy we just said too, after your mom passed, you went back to almost your childhood and watching cooking shows again. Mm-hmm. Something their connection made you. It's interesting.
Yeah, my mom was like I said, she was a successful music producer and had this career, but she was such a good cook that she would always get asked to cook for her friends, friends' birthday parties or this or that or whatever. So she would take all these catering jobs, and I would work them with her. And she was just she just made really good food, and she was really into eating, and food was our thing. Yeah. So I think that was just sort of a way I reconnected.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Did you guys eat out that much?
A lot.
Okay.
We ate out a lot, and they cooked a lot.
Yeah.
And luckily, before my mom died, she made this like homemade cookbook of like a lot of the recipes and stuff that she used to make. I mean, it's missing a lot, but I feel really grateful that I have that.
Yeah. Does your sister cook?
She does.
You're the best cook out of the kids.
I mean, I invested the most into learning about cooking.
So then when you come back from Rome, what is your goals then? Is it to open something up? No,
I was certain I did not want to own a restaurant. Like, you know, I have kids now and I have a restaurant. So
she has 3 boys, by the way.
Yes, I am very tied down. But at the time, I was used to being a musician and I was used to being my own boss. And like, I did not want to be tied down in the way that you're tied down when you have a restaurant. And like,
it's a lot of responsibility.
I could not imagine that. And I was almost certain I didn't want to cater. I was like kind of taking the route of maybe a private chef. Like one of my good friend Karina, when I left culinary school, she was Rick Rubin's personal chef and she was leaving to go work for the Red Hot Chili Peppers and be their touring chef. And
wow.
I did both of those things with her and a little bit. And I was kind of like, I was really grateful that she gave me that opportunity and I got to sort of like test that out. And then I worked in a restaurant and then I was trying out all different things to see what I liked. And then I got a job in a little cafe to figure out if that interested me. And that's when I got the job with Jill.
Okay.
And it just sort of unfolded the way that it did.
You still go to bed early? Because maybe you still always go to bed. So we would when we toured with you guys, you would always go to bed early. You were the first one to go.
I'm so happy that you remember that.
I'm sure you're more exhausted now with 3 kids and a couple businesses.
I have always been that way.
Nothing's changed since then.
I used to say like I'd go to sleep under the merch table. Like it
was incredible.
And I loved touring on a tour bus because I didn't really get to do that many times because sleep. Your bed travels with you,
I know.
Which is so genius. And one of my least favorite things about touring for all the years that I did that was like, where are we going to sleep tonight? And like, where's, like it being 1 a.m. and like still not knowing where you're going to go to bed. And like, it's so brutal. That was my least favorite part. And luckily I think I stopped touring by the time I was 25 or so.
Yeah. But you always went to bed early. It was crazy.
Always went to bed early. So when I got this job, this like catering and doing what I was doing, it's production catering. So I would have to get up, I mean, as early as 2 or 3 in the morning. Wow. I mean, my staff still comes to work at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow.
And I was putting in these crazy long days. And back then in the beginning, I didn't have a staff. So it was like super long day. Then I'd have to come home and do dishes and then I'd have to shop for the next day and then I'd have to prep it all. And then it was, absolute insanity. And it's taken a long time to get where we are now.
Add 3 kids to the mix too.
And so when I had kids, I was like, getting up all night long and getting up, like, this is nothing. Like I'm super used to this. And so that was not a huge adjustment for me where it is, I feel like for most parents. Like,
you probably appreciate sleep way more now.
Yes. Unfortunately, I have like become an insomniac. I fall asleep fine, but I can't stay asleep anymore. And it's really...
Because your mind's probably racing. You have so many responsibilities.
Exactly. So I'm working on that.
And so how do you find that balance with family and your work? It's hard to do that?
It really comes down to counting on other people and trusting them and getting the right amount of help.
Yeah.
I just cannot do it alone.
And your hubby and Joe.
Yes, Joe's a great co-parent and partner. He's, like I'm a slob and he does definitely the majority of the cleaning. And like, we are both very hands-on and full-time parents in that way. And he's great. And
we talked a little bit before the podcast started, but just kind of letting go and taking time for your health and your family and then giving people some of the reins to run the business. I know that's really hard. Just like being in the band as well and like hiring a manager, like what is that manager going to bring to the table that I'm not doing already because it's such your baby and your passion, and giving up those like kind of responsibilities is hard for sure.
It's really hard. And also I think it's important to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and like, Cody. I brought Cody on last year to help with operations. And
Donut friend OG.
It's been so lovely to have him. He's because awesome. We're so different. And I think he brings like an ease to the staff, and like a support and a comfort that like we didn't have before. And, I have some really, really great chefs and great front of house people. Like, we have a really good team, and it's not the kind of business that you can do without your people. And like they all matter so much. How
many people you have working for you now?
We're in the 80s. I don't know exactly. Damn. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a lot of people and a lot of responsibility, especially because, California and COVID and everything, there's like a lot of requirements of being an employer, and they don't make it easy. That's for sure. But it's just part of the job and the responsibility.
But now it's getting a little better. Everything's kind of back and open, and a lot of the places that had outdoor seating, is that going to be taken away now? Like how they like spread it out into the street?
Yes, of course.
A lot of that stuff's going away soon?
So I heard we were guaranteed to have it through the end of the year.
Okay.
Which is now approaching, but that they were trying to make it indefinite and like trying to keep it, which would be so incredible. It really added a lot to our seating, but it also just, a lot of people want to sit outside or have their dogs nice. Or, I don't know, some people still don't want to be inside. And it gives people a lot more options. Yeah,
and it gives you also more space and have more people if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
What about music? Do you still play music or miss playing music or want to play? Was that
I think the honest answer is like, I don't. Like, I was kind of blown away by how I was able to just like move on and didn't really miss it. And I think I was just so happy to be able to put my energy into something and have it, be successful and like do something. Like it requires a lot. And I think I had a lot to put into something that I didn't really have that opportunity with music. And, I have my moments where like, I'll go see a band or something and I'm like, fuck, I missed that, like that looks really fun, but it is what it is. Sometimes I like have like a fleeting thought of like, maybe I'll make a record again, or maybe I'll do something. And then I'm like, you're not going to do that.
You still check out bands and like new music and stuff like,
a little bit, like just, Joe's obviously like still making music and doing stuff, and like
does he do jingles too and stuff, right, for people?
No, he doesn't do that. He mostly makes his own music, and he's scored some films, and
nice.
He was producing for a while. He doesn't really do that as much anymore. But through him and through like work and my employees and the music they play is really like my biggest access to like what's happening.
Yeah.
I kind of live under a rock a bit.
You got a lot of young kids working there, younger people?
Yes.
Okay.
And everyone's it's actually, we're going through it right now because we just got our ASCAP and BMI like warning letters where they're like, you have to report the music that you play. And
I didn't know that was a thing for restaurants.
It's such a reflection of who you are, like wanting to play your own music and your identity or whatever. And now we're kind of like, guys, you can't play your music anymore. We have to like have more control over it. And this, and it's a whole thing.
That's great for bands. I didn't realize that was even an option. Like bands could get paid from having stuff played in restaurants.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Unless you're like in a punk band, because you won't really get any money, but other bands for sure.
Yeah.
When F- broke up, were you sad? Did you know what you wanted to do at that point? Were you like kind of just over it as well?
I think we'd reached a point where that was like what had to happen at the time. Joe and I like started a few other things. I actually think that's when he was doing Heavens with Matt Skiba. Yeah. So, we had started a new band. He was doing Heavens. We were ready to do something different. Yeah. I think we were like wanting to do something different. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we did that for a while, and had a few different bands, and he did a bunch of projects and tried a bunch of different things. And it was, that was our 20s, was a bunch of different bands and touring.
So in between like that and then becoming, going to culinary school, you were just doing different bands, and were you working different spots too?
Back then, I don't know if you remember, but when I came out, Jen Johnson, the bass player of F minus,
EC Star.
Yes, I went to work for EC
That's
Star,
right, Orange County.
And so I ended up in the fashion industry and like design, and I was doing graphic design for them, and then I ended up going to work for Rancid. I don't know if you know that.
I do not remember that.
So I went to go work for Machete.
Machete, merchandise, yeah.
So I was doing graphic design for them, but I actually got hired to run Nihilism, Lars's clothing line.
Wow. I remember that too. Holy shit.
So I don't think he really appreciated what I did with it, because like, true to my nature, like when I take on a project, I'm like, I'm going to do this the way I would do this. And I made the pants tighter than he would have wanted them. And
that's before people rocking tight stuff again.
But it was fun. It was,
EC Star was so sick too, man. That was such a cool brand. I forgot Jennifer had that. That had a good run too. That was a long run she had with that.
And then Jen and I started a clothing company together with my sister Jen called Dainty June, and we did.
That's right, Dainty June.
And we did that for a while, and then I was ready to be done with that, with manufacturing and that industry. Yeah.
So, the restaurant now, there's 2 locations, correct? Mm-hmm. And there's one coming soon, right? You talk about that one or no?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the cafe on Figueroa, and then behind the cafe we have a bakery, and then down the street about a mile we're opening a walk-up window in Mount Washington, and it's really cute, and it's next to a place called Taco Fiesta that has really good veggie burgers, and it's in the parking lot of a grocery store. So it's the opposite of the cafe. There's tons and tons of parking, and it's all about quick service and just being able to pull in, go up to the window, get coffee, pastries, breakfast. We're going to do waffles.
Nice.
And it's exciting.
Highland Park seems like it's crushing as the vegan mecca of LA right now. It seems like there's so many spots over there. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was growing, and then the pandemic happened, and it wasn't like, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, because like a lot of the new places closed and new things opened, and now it's going in a crazy direction. There's a lot of new restaurants and new stores, and the real estate went crazy.
It did.
The houses got super expensive.
I remember the food trucks was like a big thing out there too, like the vegan food trucks. A while back, we used to go
on York, yeah.
By Donut Friend, yeah.
I forget about York sometimes. We live directly between York and Figueroa, but
York is like the hot spot, right? That street, it's just
definitely for the food trucks and that vegan scene that was happening. Does that still happen?
I think so.
Night?
Yeah, I've been over there
I mean, I'm never awake at that hour, so. But
how about like being a mom with Joe, coming from where you guys come from? Do you feel like some of the stuff you learned, the ethics, I guess, of punk rock, you use that as being a parent? Stuff you learned, or maybe from the world we come from?
Wow, that's a tricky question.
Values,
I think in the sense that both of us just by nature like go against the grain and against convention, and like we follow our instincts as opposed to, maybe doing what we were supposed to do or whatever.
Same.
And, we're certainly not strict in any way whatsoever. It's just all love and cuddles and, giving in and spoiling and,
Same. It's so crazy because, obviously, I guess my mom would say I was a spoiled one because I'm the youngest, but she had 3 boys she raised just like you are doing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that. I do feel like sometimes like I spoil my kid too much. That's just giving love. I feel like obviously we got love as children, but like it was just the communication was way different than I feel like I have now with my son that my mom had with me. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think about that all the time.
And the involvement.
Yeah, I really love my relationship with my kids. Well, my 8-year-old is a better example because we communicate. But it's everything's on the table. We talk about a lot of things, I mean, we'll see. We're on the verge, right? Because he's 8, so things are about to get
no phone yet.
Get real. No. Yeah. I mean, I let him go on my phone. He has an iPad. He plays video games. He goes on YouTube. We monitor it. Now we have to be in the room now because, we were like, wait, what's happening?
YouTube's wild. Yeah, there's all kinds of,
I know a lot of parents shelter their kids from screens, but we didn't do our best in that area. We try now. He's also a really, really, really picky eater. Okay. So I don't get to have fun feeding him. Like he only eats the same, like,
rice.
He's vegetarian and but like with a quesadilla, he'll only eat a certain brand of tortilla and a certain brand of vegan cheese. And you can't substitute either of those things. And like, he only eats bread and veggie dogs and it's a very small menu.
Wow.
But I'm having more fun with the new little boys. I'm trying to get them to eat a little bit more adventurous.
Is your dad still alive and around?
Yes, he is.
And where is he at? In New York still?
No, he's in Virginia actually. Okay. But they come out for a few months a year to California because my stepmom has kids that are also in the LA area. Okay. So we're all here. So they come out and they spend a lot of time out here, and that's nice.
And are you in there cooking too at all? No,
I don't really cook anymore. I think, if you asked anyone who worked there, I don't really cook anymore, but I'm definitely a part of recipe development and menu development and research and development, all that.
Are you always in there checking in? You're there every day?
Yeah, I'm there typically 5 days a week, and I stop in on the weekends sometimes too, whether it's to eat, and I try to eat there and have like a customer experience as often as I can, and like eat different things off the menu and just like check in with all that stuff.
I'm gonna come out there this week. I'm gonna make a point to come out with a couple of friends. Yeah, because Moon's been there all the time. I've been there a couple of times getting things to go, but not actually sitting down and it'd be cool. I'm excited. I hear great things. Like I was saying before the pod, like Maggie talks about a lot. She loves it.
That's really nice to hear.
Yeah. Do you have all kinds of people coming there from all around LA?
Yes. I mean,
a lot of the same customers?
A lot. We have so many regulars.
That's cool.
I see so many people in there from all different times in my life too. Like people walk in and familiar faces and new people all the time.
It says a lot about your spot. You know what I mean? People coming back and loving it.
It means a lot.
Let's get deep. Do you have any regrets in your life? Major regrets?
There's no point. No.
I love that. A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
There's no point of it.
I mean, it all brought me here, and I'm happy with where I am today,
Yeah.
Wouldn't change that.
What about any daily rituals besides going to your spot?
I got really into Pilates.
Wow. Same with Tim Armstrong. He goes like 6 days a week.
It's amazing. I do you know what DR is? Like after I had the twins,
no, break it down.
So after I had the twins,
you had a rough pregnancy. I don't know if you want to talk, but you had a hard pregnancy. Yeah.
But I'm also a very petite person, and I got huge with the twins, and your DR is when your abs split in half, and they create a separation, and it's measured in how many fingers you can put between your abs.
What?
And it's very
that's crazy.
I asked my physical therapist, I was like, what's the biggest separation you've ever seen? And she said a 5-finger separation. I had a 3-finger separation, which basically, so like what a lot of people think is like mummy tummy, or like when you get a belly after
how much weight did you gain? Do you remember?
Like 40 or 60 pounds.
Okay.
But really what that is your abs split in half. And like the way it was explained to me is like your insides are a bowling ball, and you have this vest and a zipper, and it's keeping it in. And when you have DR, it's like someone has undone the zipper and like the bowling ball is trying to come out.
That's gnarly.
So I went to physical therapy and I did Pilates, and I was able to fix it in like a matter of months. And then I just got so into it, and I'm in the best shape and stronger than I've ever been.
Awesome.
And I love it.
Yeah, a lot of people love it. Like I said, Tim goes, he loves it, man. I saw him today. He's like totally like, looks amazing. My wife used to do it too.
Joe's going with me. Joe does it.
Really?
He looks great.
Wow. Is it mostly like, because Pilates, I think, there's different kinds. There's like kinds that like just stretch out your body, and it's not really a lot of like pushing and pulling, or no? Is it
It's very gentle.
Yeah.
And it involves a lot of stretching. And there's like, for me, I just absolutely hate cardio. Like if someone like asked me to run or ride a bike, like I hate anything like that. And it's like very gentle, but very like strength training, and using a lot of, we use a reformer. So we're on that like machine.
Okay.
But it really like has a huge impact, but it doesn't feel like it when you're doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, it can
yeah.
be really hard.
You can feel results pretty quickly.
Yes. And it just, like after I had the twins, I was like, I felt like my body was just like hurt, and like I couldn't do things, and I couldn't, like my son would want me to jump on the trampoline or do these things. And I just like, I was like, I don't feel good, and I feel broken. And then now I just feel super strong, and I'm really grateful that I did that.
Yeah, I mean, breaking your abs in half sounds crazy to me. I never even heard that.
It's so common, and it's so not
Is it painful?
talked
Like,
about as much as it should be.
Are you in pain?
It's uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
It's like uncomfortable and icky feeling more than anything else. But it happens a lot with pregnancy, and a lot of people don't realize that they have it.
Just even having not just twins, but just pregnancies in general, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, having twins, man, I can't even imagine that. It's insane. Wow.
Yeah, having twins is no joke. I can't imagine people who carry more. Like it really is like twice as hard. Like I got way more sick, way more uncomfortable.
How long you labor for?
I had a natural birth with Rowan, but I had to have a C-section with the twins because I got something called cholestasis of the liver.
Okay.
Which happens with twin pregnancies, where basically your liver is not doing its job, and it can poison the babies and be fatal.
That's
so
scary.
they have to get them out really quickly.
Wow. That's gnarly.
Yeah. It was
no
full
joke.
on. It was full on. The whole experience from beginning to end, and the recovery.
Do you want to have more kids?
No.
Yeah, three's good. Three's good.
Three's perfect.
And boys have so much energy. I mean, I never had a daughter, so I can't really say, but boys have so much energy, and it's just.
I love little boys. They're so much fun. And, we were super happy with one. We didn't necessarily, we weren't planning on having more until we decided to try. And then we ended up with two more.
Wow.
And it's such a cool experience to have twins. It's so different. And it's really fun and really, really hard, and really requires a lot of partnership.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see them grow up and how they grow up together. And I just had Tegan from Tegan and Sarah. I had Tegan on here just talking about, I mean, they've been together forever, but they're identical twins. It's like that bond, forever bond, you know?
Our twins are not identical. They're not alike personality-wise. They don't look alike. Lou has blue eyes. Sasha has green eyes.
Oh, wow.
They have brown hair and blonde hair. And
that's crazy too.
Sasha's chubby and Lou's so skinny.
Wow. That's even, like, I don't even know how that even happens. Like, why they're not always identical. You know what I mean? If they're twins, I don't know. It's interesting how that happens, though.
Yeah.
But they're still gonna have a bond because they're, family. But
yes, of
it's
course.
just interesting to see. Yeah, I got friends like that too that have twins and don't look like each other at all. I'm like, that's crazy. You were saying earlier about who was dating? Oh, your sister was dating somebody in the casualties.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because Chef Tara from Pure Vita was dating somebody in the casualties too as well, and then she ends up moving out here and opening up Pure. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I wonder who.
What's his name? I don't know the names of the guys in the band. I forgot the names.
Jake?
No.
I actually don't know who's in the band.
Yeah, he's still in the band too. I forgot. He lives out here too.
Oh.
But it's such a small world.
Rick?
Yes.
Rick.
Yeah. So do you check out other restaurants, or are you too busy to do that?
I listened to Tara's episode with you.
She's awesome.
And I love her restaurant. I've been twice. I don't make it over here very often.
I know. I feel like it's super important for vegan restaurants and vegetarian restaurants to support each other as much as we can. You know what I mean? It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did not know she was from New York and a fellow Italian.
Yeah. She's awesome, man. She's killing it too. She has the 2 restaurants and the pizzeria. And
where's the second restaurant?
Redondo Beach.
Oh, okay, great.
It's nice. But do you feel love from the other restaurants come check you out? Do you feel like there's like a community with vegan and vegetarian restaurants, or do you think it's people kind of out for themselves in a way, like just going to focus on their business and not check with other ones?
I'm not super aware of it. I see it more behind the scenes in the sense that we all share similar staff. Like I have people who've worked for this person and that person, and through them I meet other chefs, and I love to try restaurants, and especially vegan and vegetarian restaurants, and I'm really behind right now. There's so many that I need to go try.
Yeah.
Cody goes all the time and he tells me about them and
he's
reports
in the mix
back.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little Pine's out that way too. By you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the spots are really out there. I feel like it's just. I
haven't been there since they changed ownership.
I know. I've been there a couple. It's changed a different chef too a couple times too. So I've been in a minute, but yeah, it's cool to hear it. Like there's stuff going on that side of town because everything's usually in Hollywood and over here. All the vegan spots. There's new Crossroads in Calabasas I went to just opened.
I like Crossroads a lot.
I love it too, man.
Oh.
And one in Vegas too now.
Wow. Good for them.
Yeah,
I didn't
3.
know.
I'm hoping there's going to be a Kitchen Mouse on this side of town, though. It'll be so awesome. Because I was seeing it before. There's really nothing like that to have like really good desserts.
How do you eat these days? Moon was saying you don't do wheat.
Yeah, I quit like gluten like 5 months ago, and for me personally, I'm not speaking to everybody listening that you should do this, but I've always had stomach issues. I've always been gassy from vegan food. I've always been bloated. It's all gone. I did a 17-day juice cleanse, and then I started slowly reintroducing foods to my body, and the gluten was the one that kept giving me the same bad results.
Wow.
So I just figured out myself, not going to a doctor, and now everything's changed for me as far as like just going out during the day and doing my shit and have to worry about getting a stomach ache from something. Now I know exactly what it is. It's so crazy. It's amazing.
I love bread and I love it all, but if I eat it during the day, my day's over. I just want to go to sleep.
Wow.
And take a nap, and I'm like get super unmotivated. Wow. So I've started a new rule with myself where I'm not allowed to eat bread when I have work to do.
So there you go. That's crazy.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a different story, but
it just knocks you out.
It just totally knocks me out.
And gluten-free bread is really hard to find, like a good gluten-free bread. I
should have brought you some.
We have good ones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to find, like just like one that's like, it's good in the toaster. It's just good when you eat. It doesn't fall apart. It's not like dry or like hard,
Yeah, you should definitely come visit us.
All right, I'm going to come by this week for sure. Are you an optimist or pessimist?
Optimist. Yeah.
Your whole life been like that?
Yes. And I always say, like, with me, everyone's sort of innocent till proven guilty as well. Sometimes to my, detriment, but.
Yeah. Even being in the bank with F-.
I always just, anxiety aside, because I have plenty of anxiety, like I always just think things will work out. I definitely, as I get older and I have more to lose and more responsibility, like I've definitely gotten a little bit more cautious.
Yeah.
But I definitely have benefited from being sort of optimistic.
Yeah. Do you get stressed out a lot of anxiety?
I do.
And how do you help that? Pilates. Pilates got to help.
It does. And getting outside, like going for a walk,
Vitamin
like
D.
It's like you could be having a shitty day, and the second
True.
you start going for a walk or just get outside, it can help so much.
That's so true.
Yeah.
What about coffee?
I drink coffee, and I've gone to like doctors in the past and been like, I have anxiety, like what should I do? Should I take something? And they're like, quit coffee. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, you know, so I do like now I'll drink one or two cups in the beginning of the day, and I don't allow myself, if I get to work and I really want one, I'll have one, but I don't allow myself any caffeine after noon.
Smart.
I don't do any afternoon. I'll switch to like chamomile or something, especially in the winter. I just want to take baths and drink hot beverages all day.
Yeah. I quit coffee 4 months ago with the same thing. And that was, for me personally, just made me like jittery.
Wait, you quit coffee?
Yeah.
Do you feel better?
Yes.
Everyone says they feel better when they quit.
I'm not jittery. I'm not, it gave me like, fuck my stomach up, dehydration. I crashed pretty hard on it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I should probably try it. I accidentally went to work recently and forgot to drink coffee because I don't even know how that happened. But I felt so insane. I had a horrible headache. I felt like I never really woke up. And I was like, oh, this is what would happen if I didn't drink. It would probably be a rough week.
That's what, supposedly that happens the first couple of days and you get through it, like with the headaches and stuff. But it's like, think about that. Like your body's just reacting to not having that, you know?
I really enjoy the ritual of it. And if it is just the ritual, I suppose I could drink something else. I really like coffee.
It is a ritual, and the smell and everything. It's like, I wanted to have it because I felt like it's a grown-up thing to do. And I just started a couple years ago experimenting with coffee because it's like the most crazy thing I ever put in my body is coffee. And I loved it for a while, like on tour with Rusty, like going to every coffee shop in every freaking country. Like it's a thing, like it's a culture. It's like a thing, like you map out the best coffee places. You walk for like fucking 5 miles in the winter to get like your, you know, and that's what Rusty's about, that life. And I respect it. And I was trying to be down with my band and hang out with them. And it just, I'm already hyper as it is and high on life as it is. I really don't need nothing like that.
Yeah.
So, and I did like the taste. I like the whole vibe, like drinking the coffee. But Moon's never had coffee. She never tried it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. My son's all about it. We had a coffee machine here for a while, and like just the smell. His grandma used to give him sips. Moon's mom used to give Max sips when he was younger, and he just got a taste for it, you know? Because when I was a kid, I wasn't drinking coffee. And when I heard like Descendants talking about coffee, I was like, that's some like old people shit. Like my mom drinks Sanka, my mom drinks coffee. And when that band started singing about that, I was like, these punk rockers are drinking coffee? Like, that's like such an adult thing. Were you drinking coffee as a young kid too?
Yeah. I mean, my parents would make like cappuccinos at home or whatever, and I was always into it. And then, you know, growing up in New York, it's like I'd go to the bodega and get one light and sweet, and you know, you have the
bodega coffee. Wow.
Yeah, and then there's Dunkin' Donuts when I moved to Boston.
And that's right. Did you like Boston?
Loved it. I haven't been back in a really long time. I loved living there. It's so beautiful as well.
Yeah, it's a nice city.
I had a lot of fun living there.
But being a New Yorker in Boston, it's just a rivalry, you know?
I never felt that. But, you know, and it's also like such a quick drive. And like...
Yeah, it is.
I would do that drive all the time.
Yeah. And you met Joe there, and that's amazing. How long you guys been together for now?
22 years.
Wow, man. That's pretty amazing to meet in that world and then be in a band together and then start a family together. Mm-hmm. I guess the same for me, Moon. Yeah, met in the punk scene. Yeah. It's awesome, though.
How long have you guys been together for?
Married since 96, but we met in 93. Pretty crazy, yeah. It's a long time, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to like think we made a kid together, and like it's just pretty surreal sometimes thinking that we're parents, you know? Mm-hmm. Isn't it? It's like we're grown-ups.
You're parents to an adult.
I know. It's so crazy. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like having kids, life feels like it's shorter? Not shorter, but it's like, it's crazy when you have children, maybe because I'm just way older than you, but you see like, you're like, I'm not going to be here forever. And now I have this kid. I want to be here forever. It's just this.
Oh, of
not,
course.
Not trying to get morbid. You know
of
what
course.
I mean?
I also feel like I keep doing, I know I'm sure it's natural at this age, but it's just like, you know, 20 years ago, I was, 21, and it doesn't feel that long ago. And in 20 years, I'm going to be 60.
Yeah.
You know, and I just like doing that math and just being like, in 30 years, I'm going to be 70 something. And just, the true definition of middle age, just like you're on the...
But 41's young. I mean, especially you started so early going to shows, it makes sense. But like, 41's still pretty young, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like these days 70 is young, 60
Yeah.
is young.
I'm
you know,
52
it's like,
and I feel fucking awesome. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I feel super young.
yeah, it's definitely, I mean, maybe it's because we're older, but my perception of age has definitely changed, and I feel like it's not what it was back then. Like
Yeah.
everyone's doing things later, everyone's, you know, healthier. I don't know, maybe not everyone.
No, but I've been thinking about our parents when they were in their 40s, like, oh my God, this like seems so old.
It seemed so old.
And
so
now it's
old.
just everything. I think our generations, we're in different generations, but yeah, the different lifestyles for sure.
Mm-hmm.
People more conscious of what they're putting in their bodies and how they're living their lives, and right.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say.
You do stuff with Support and Feed too, right?
I do. They're a pleasure to work with. I love being a part of their cause, and they, work with different restaurants, and
Yeah.
they'll, just call us and say, we need this many meals for blah, blah, blah. And we have this.
And they started that during the pandemic too, supporting a bunch of the restaurants, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yes. It's really cool how that whole thing happened. We were cooking for hospitals as well. And,
Wow.
and it was cool how everyone sort of came together, and like everyone just did what they needed to do to get through and to help people and help each other. And, maybe in a couple years I can have a different perspective and look back on it differently when I'm not so close to it, because it was a truly traumatizing experience as a restaurant owner, and all of us it was a lot for everyone, but yeah, I think when we're a little further away from it, we'll be able to look at the cool things that happened and differently.
Yeah, she was helping promote all the restaurants and giving food out to different communities, and just really supporting, man, Jeanette and Maggie and their foundation. And I work with them with Liquid Death, and just, they do so much positive things. And it's such an incredible family. That family's just, the whole family's just so insane. Like everything they do for the world, and the carbon footprint stuff they're doing on the tours, and the recycling stuff and everything, man.
It's really remarkable, and
they really live it.
Yeah.
And I love that they stay in that neighborhood still. I went over there once. It's just same house, same area. It's fucking incredible, man. It's just, they really got that Highland Park love, and I don't know, it's just amazing.
Yeah, Maggie's like a fixture of the neighborhood.
Yeah. Just walking around. There's something else over there too that my wife went to. There's a butcher shop too.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go yet. I've been dying to go. Maciel's. It's a vegan butcher shop.
Yeah.
That opened. I've heard really good things.
Yeah, my wife went there too and checked it out. Yeah, I was like, I need to get over that way, man. I'm definitely going to get over that way soon. Do you have any major inspirations in your life?
Oh, Toby, with the tough questions. I mean, so...
Like bands or anything, or, I don't know, a chef?
So many. Martha Stewart.
Any particular band inspire you to play guitar?
I mean, I think because of the era I grew up in, it's the obvious answers, the Courtney Love, the Kurt Cobain, I was super into, the Lunatics and Babes in Toyland, and
nice. L7?
L7, Bikini Kill.
These are the Riot Girl stuff.
I was really into that especially when I first got into playing guitar. And like I said, I was a huge Juliana Hatfield fan. Lemonheads.
Lemonheads. Wow, nobody mentions Lemonheads. They were great.
Really? Yeah. I was a huge fan.
So all those inspirations.
Yeah. I mean, I started playing guitar in probably, 94 or 93. And like, that was just like, Green Day.
That's right. The year punk broke.
All that stuff. I was, in the 90s, like I was just a music super fan, and like lived for that. And
did you like the New York hardcore bands too? Like you going like shows, seeing stuff like that? Or was that too insane?
The punk scene is so hardcore adjacent, and like I wasn't really part of the hardcore scene until I played in a hardcore band, and like sort of
dived right into it.
Yeah, and again, it's like F- sort of lived in between the punk and the hardcore world a little bit, so we toured with both kinds of bands.
Yeah.
And then also just like being on the label we were on and stuff, Hellcat
Hellcat.
and Epitaph, like we toured with a lot of, though, like the pairings of bands that we would tour with didn't always make the most sense. Like F- on tour with Dropkick Murphys, or, you know what I mean?
Wow.
It wasn't,
Yeah.
but there was something to enjoy about that. I enjoyed, opening up for bands where you'd go out on stage and people would be like, what's happening right now?
I love that too.
There's.
Yeah. You had a cool style on stage too.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are do you have any favorite tours back then? Like stand out besides H2O?
Well, goes without saying. That one was really, really important and vital because it was like my first European tour. And
yeah, that's a good one. It was a long time too. It was at least 4 weeks or more. I mean,
I think it was a 6-week tour.
Jesus, that was the thing back then.
Yeah,
I can't
it
imagine
was. It
that.
was always 6 weeks.
I could never do that right now, man.
But I remember I was so scared of Moon.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She was
a cute girl on the 7-inch.
Yeah.
What was like a big tour? Was the biggest tour you guys did was like Dropkicks probably?
Yeah, I can't remember, but
yeah,
like
that would have, you were sleeping.
That would have been a big one. Or like, we toured. Did we tour with Rancid? We definitely played with them a lot.
Probably Dropkick or Rancid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys stayed pretty busy though.
For 5 years it was full on, and we kept really busy. And
were you working in between tours?
Working jobs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like what kind of jobs?
Just
random?
EC Star mostly.
That's right.
And just
yeah.
I think the whole time actually. I was there for 5 years, and that's about how long I was in the band.
You've been working your whole life though.
Yeah, yes.
You have a good work ethic.
Yeah, when I was in Boston and I, dropped out of college to go on that tour, I delivered burritos, and that's actually how Joe and I got to know each other really well. Is he'd jump in the car with me and go on my deliveries with me.
Wow.
There was this place called the Big Burrito in Boston. I assume it's still there. I don't know. And
that's cool.
The food was really good, and they had this delicious vegan barbecue tofu burrito.
Wow.
But yeah, I delivered burritos and till I moved out to California.
Was Joe in a band too back then?
He was in a band in Boston called The Statistics.
Okay.
And then he moved out to California to be with me, and I was like leaving all the time to go on tour. And, eventually it was like, hey, you keep going to like Europe and all this stuff and leaving me in Orange County. So then he started, in the beginning we were in Orange County. And so like he started coming on tour with us and selling merch or whatever. And then he joined the band towards the end when Jen left. So that was fun. And then we made one final record with him, the one we did with Steve Albini.
Yeah.
And
that's what happened. Moon I went on a tour like one time for like 6 weeks or something. I told my band, I was like, I can't be away from my lady. She's got to come on tour or else I can't do this. And that's when Moon started selling merch, and it lasted like 10 years. Mm-hmm. But it was so nice to have her there. Like, just, I don't know. It's just good to have your partner or whatever, your, girlfriend or boyfriend with you, It was nice.
Yeah.
I was very lucky to travel with her like that. Before we had Max,
No, totally. And she was also no joke. She was.
She was.
She's so great. But I think Joe and I have talked about that recently. I think it was hard for him when I left music more than either of us realized, and to not have that sort of camaraderie in a relationship of like playing music together or having that sort of partnership. And we had that our whole relationship, and then I moved on and started doing something totally different.
Yeah.
And that had an effect for sure.
Does he help out with the restaurant too or no?
Yeah, in the way that any partner does, but he's not involved or he doesn't work there. Yeah.
So now you guys have raising kids together. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
So they're making music. You're making children's lives. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. They're so cute.
It's really cool. I want to meet your kids. I want to come to the restaurant. People can find Kitchen Mouse online, right? Are you on social media that much or not?
Yeah. At Kitchen Mouse LA.
That's only when you're on?
That's Instagram. And then we just kitchenmousela.com.
And how much you on that social media? Is it just promoting your business?
Honestly, during the pandemic, I had someone else take over our Instagram account.
Smart.
Because I find social media. Like, it doesn't come naturally to me. I think it does come naturally to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it makes, yeah. So I don't have the best relationship with running an account, and
Running a business.
yeah. So our Instagram is not as personal anymore as it used to be, but I'm taking it over again soon. And I'm just okay with not having the social media presence that maybe everyone else does.
Yeah. So you're not on Instagram personally?
I am on Instagram, but I don't think I participate in it as much as a lot of other people.
Well, you're super busy, 3 kids and businesses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People spend, it's a lot of time on there, and it's a lot of wasted time. So yeah, that's cool.
I do try to be cautious of, mindless scrolling or wasting time like that in general, especially these days.
I know.
I try to be better about it.
It's an interesting world online, and it's so important to promote things. That's why it's a great tool for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think we've all made so many connections and learned about so many things through social media. And I the thing I use it most for is like design or finding other accounts. Like, that's one of my favorite things about having restaurants is the design part, is like designing the restaurants. And I do all that myself. So that's really fun.
And you were saying the new one's going to have you want it to be like what would Kitchen Mouse be if it was here like in the 50s or 60s?
In the 60s, because the building is like very 60s and like still has some of the 60s tile and like the architecture of it. So I'm trying to lean into that a little bit.
Yeah, you designed the other ones, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super cute.
Thanks.
And then what's the name come from? Just having a mouse in your kitchen?
I was just always really into mice as a kid. Like, I'd always get toy mice, and I had dresses with mice on them. And
that's cool.
And then when I was trying to come up with a name, I came across Kitchen Mouse, and I was like, oh, that would be really cute. And I just didn't think about it again. And and it just always fit. And people, have mentioned that having a rodent in your name is not the best idea, but I love it. And
is it Ratatouille? What's the movie about the chef? And then
Ratatouille.
That's right. So people have said like you should have a rodent in your name, or they had weird about that.
Mm-hmm. And also it's one of those names that's very hard to understand over the phone. We get a lot of chicken mouth. Wow. Mm-hmm. Kitchen Mouse. Mm-hmm.
I remember Crossroads opening, people kind of tripping on Tall because he had steak knives in his logo. He's like, it's just part of the logo. Like, don't trip. Sometimes I feel like the vegan police and people, the vegans could be like their worst own enemies in the sense where everybody's just so quick to like have an opinion on who's the most vegan or what's vegan or what it represents. But everybody has their own, way that they try to do their best for the animals. You know what I mean? Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect humans. So it's impossible to be a perfect vegan. But there's a lot of judgment. I think a lot of people criticize other people for not being, not vegan enough or vegetarian enough. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's annoying as fuck, actually. It's actually a turn off. So that's why I try to be the best and just lead by example. I never preach shit or try to make people or tell people you should do this or do that and not eat this. Because a lot of my friends aren't even vegan, I think it's just, Tall has a saying like world peace starts in the kitchen. I believe that like good food, good conversations bring people together. I think it's about the food. Yeah.
And, change happens slowly sometimes. And I think we've all seen what's happened in the vegan community in the past 10, I don't know, even since I've been doing it. It's like it's, things are moving in that direction.
The world is.
Naturally, the world is. And I think that's really cool. And, I always really admired like the McCartney family's sort of Meatless Monday philosophy of like just trying to make an impact in a broader way.
Love that.
It
all helps.
Yeah, it all helps. And that's sort of, my why of like with Kitchen Mouse and starting vegetarian or whatever is like, besides the fact that, like understanding being a vegetarian or being a vegan and spending so much time around vegan people or whatever. And I didn't drink for 10 years and like, my husband is sober as well. It's like, I understand how alienating it can be to be a part of a world where like it's everywhere, and
Yeah.
so you always kind of feel like an outsider. It's like, I remember
Good point.
when Joe and I stopped drinking, and
10 years now?
well, I started again, but
Okay.
Joe's still sober.
Congrats on the 10 years, though.
Yeah, thanks.
Were you drinking wine or something?
No, I mean, I'm not really drinking again, but like I'm not an alcoholic. I just took a 10-year break, and I thought it was wonderful, and I feel like I owe a lot of my success to that, and I just, I used drinking as a coping mechanism after my mom died a lot, and I was just ready to take a break. And when Joe got sober, which was much needed at the time, I was just like, I'll just quit drinking too. But it was, I think anyone who's been through it understands that it's like, wait, the phone stops ringing, and we used to spend so much time at the bar. Now we don't go to the bar. And it's like, all of a sudden you just start feeling like an outsider, and then alcohol is everywhere, just like meat is everywhere when you're a vegetarian or whatever. And it's like, when I was getting into the food industry or whatever, and I was seeing like, when you're cooking in volume, like how much meat and how many eggs and how much this and how much whatever, I was like, you know what, when I open the restaurant, like I don't want to have that kind of impact on like myself, on the meat industry or this or that or whatever. And I'd really like to create a menu where people who are vegan can come in and know everything on this menu is vegan unless I add an egg, or unless I, and everything is gluten-free or whatever. Like in the beginning, the whole entire menu was vegan. And my rule was that every dish had to be fully complete and satisfying and interesting and being vegan. Yeah. And then if someone wanted to add an egg or whatever, it was unnecessary, but it was an option.
Got you.
Yeah. So that was the original menu, and it was much smaller back then, and we were one room or whatever. And I, ever since then, the bakery, the donut shop, we call it a donut shop because it was a donut shop, but the new location, we're just moving towards vegan more and more all the time. So so the bakery is vegan, and the new place will be as well.
Do you think a lot of your clients that come, customers are vegan, or probably not?
No, they're not. And a lot of them go out of their way to say like,
they're not,
and they love it. And we get a lot of people being like, I love that I can come here and I'm vegan and I can eat vegan, but I can bring my mom or dad or whatever. And it's I
love that.
I know there's a lot of completely understandable extreme thinking about veganism and vegetarianism and everything or whatever. And I think that it is, needs to be handled with urgency, and it's a very serious subject, but, it's opened a lot of it allows us to be a bit more inclusive by having the eggs and the milk at the espresso machine, and we're just trying to move more and more towards vegan.
Yeah. You think if you lose the eggs and the milk, people are going to miss it and not come there? You think they're going to notice with just egg and like almond milk or fucking oat milk or whatever?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think there's...
But I think the word vegan also scares some people, to be honest. It's like pretty...
We don't use it. Like in our menu and our windows, like nothing says vegan or vegetarian.
Yeah. Same with Crossroads.
I just try to, I've always just wanted to make really good food that was vegan, that was sort of spoke to a lot of people.
Is that where the word plant-based comes in? You think people use that because it's more like softer and sounds nicer maybe? I don't know where that came from. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe.
Yeah, like plant-based sounds like it's nice. You know what I mean? It's like a salad or something. But vegan could be like extreme to people. That word is just like, because some people in that world go a little tense. Some people aren't. You know what I mean? So it's like one bad vegan egg that makes the whole bunch kind of like, you know what I mean? Like the approaches are different from everybody. Food is just good food. It doesn't matter what it is, right? If it's good food is good food.
Yeah. And, I think it goes back to that, like going against the grain and wanting to do something different. And it's like, when I opened a restaurant, it's like, I just liked the idea of like creating a place for like a more underserved community of like, vegans and vegetarians and just, like I said, it really came down to like not wanting to make a further impact.
Yeah, a negative impact on the planet.
Yeah.
I love that. I can't wait to go there and eat it because I've only had stuff to go. I'm definitely going to go this week. So proud of you and your journey too. And just, it's crazy, man.
Thanks, Toby. You too.
Last time just seeing you, just hanging out, you falling asleep and seeing you rock. And you become a mom with 3 boys and still with Joe. It's just awesome, man. It's awesome.
Likewise.
So is this your first podcast or no? Second?
We could call it my first podcast. Yes.
Yeah, you're not really like interview kind of person or like do stuff like this, really, right? Pretty low key.
I get nervous to do stuff like this
because it was fun. It was talking. It's easy.
It was really fun.
Like I'm nervous. Don't be nervous. We're friends. We're going to talk in my kitchen. And yeah, I'm excited for the new one opening up in Mount Washington. Hopefully, it's going to be one over here on the west side. We could really use it over here. There's nothing like that over here. There's more high end things over here than yours has like a home vibe, home cooked vibe, right? It's like more of like that's what I think.
I like to hear that it comes across that way. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's plus I know it's coming from your heart, and that's how you grew up cooking in your family. Now knowing your whole story, which I knew some about, but not all about. That's why I love doing this. I think I know somebody, and then they come on and I do a deep dive, and I'm like, holy shit! Just like your dad toured the Who or engineered with Cyndi Lauper and just all that stuff. And you even being born in New York, I never even thought about that because I'm like California. It's cool.
Yeah.
And you started going to shows so early. It's pretty amazing.
I did.
Like, what if your kids wanted to go to a show at like
we
14?
Brought Rowan to,
okay.
Well, besides going to see his dad play, we brought Rowan to his first show. We went to go see The Weeknd.
Okay, perfect.
A few weeks ago.
Do you like The Weeknd?
I do, actually.
I do too. Super talented. So that was a parent's choice or the kid's choice? You all like The Weeknd.
We all like The Weeknd. My little year and a half old twin, Lou, loves Save Your Tears, and I think I listened to it already 10 times today.
Wow. That's so cool.
But we went to that Weeknd show that got shut down. Did you hear about this?
I did not. What happened?
He came out on stage, after we paid $80 for parking and after sitting through 2 opening acts. Like, it was supposed to be Doja Cat and she canceled, and like, so, and how long ago? With the kid, this was weeks ago, like maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago.
Canceled too. Wow.
So anyway, it's like hard to sit through opening acts with a kid when they just want to see, The Weeknd. And he came out and he came out really late, played like 3 songs, and then was like, my voice went out. I can't give the performance I want to give. And he left, and we had to walk out, and it was like
the crowd going crazy. Like booing or
no,
whatever?
Everyone just kind of accepted it, but it was hard to get out of the building and hard to get out of the parking lot. And like, it was like a whole thing. And then we got refunded for our tickets. You had the choice to go to the makeup show or get refunded. And Rowan was like, I'm good,
Wow.
So
I never heard of artists doing that before. At least somebody that big just walking off like, sorry, I think it's not going to happen tonight.
It was a bold move.
Wow.
Yeah, we weren't upset or anything. It
was that the Forum?
SoFi Stadium.
SoFi Stadium. That's huge. Yeah,
it was huge, and it was packed, and it was a lot of people.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that was his first concert experience.
That was his first concert.
Yeah.
Damn.
Being the sleepy person I was, there was part of me that was like, yes, I get to go home and go to bed.
Yeah,
now.
it's not even 9 yet. Yeah. That's cool to go see The Weeknd. That's great. I never thought you were a Weeknd fan. That's cool. See what happens when we get older. We listen to other things, more open-minded, and check out things. And I don't know. You've probably always been like that, but I love pop music. I always love that stuff.
Yeah.
When
it's good, it's good,
Is there stuff you get into this pop only because you're kids that you never thought you listened to besides The Weeknd?
I mean, get into
Coldplay.
or listen
Coldplay.
to. Coldplay
That's
is huge in our house. And I'm not going to lie. I enjoy it. Joe's losing his mind. He's like, as a creative person who makes music, like, I cannot listen to Coldplay all day long.
But
every
he toured
day.
with them, which is fucking crazy
yes,
too.
A couple times he went to Australia with them. He did a US tour with them.
That's unreal. I have like 3 Coldplay tattoos. I met
Really?
Chris once. I love him.
I feel like I've heard this about you.
I love him so much. I forgot. He's just so nice. He's just so sweet.
I'm happy to hear that. I've heard nothing but good things. But like literally every time the babies are crying or they're inconsolable, I'm like, Joe, they just want Chris Martin. And we put
Is there a particular song?
They really like Paradise.
Banger.
Magic's a really good one.
Magic's great too. Wow, I love your kids.
They're like just like super fans. I don't know how it happened either, because it's not like something we would have. I think it was like we put on a song on YouTube and the algorithm just took over and they really connected with.
Now that's
Coldplay.
a great concert. That's the next concert should be when they're coming through next year.
Okay, we will definitely take them.
I'll go with you. I would love.
Okay.
It's an amazing experience. It's like
I got to see them once when Joe toured with them and they had that whole like wristband thing.
Yes, I went to that one too.
The one at it was like Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, and they all lit up. I was there and they all lit up at the same time.
Yeah.
So posy, so emo, so everything about them is just, I don't know, man. Something about them I love that I had a connection with his voice.
Yeah. I've learned so much about them. Like I didn't know that there was like the fifth member who's the manager.
Mm-hmm. You know the song Charlie Brown?
No.
It's me and my son bonded on Coldplay at a very young age for him. He hates them because they make me emo and make him think about me when he's away. He'll send me like a text. Or sort of Coldplay song, I'm thinking about you. So that's forever going to be our band. Yeah. He's like, I don't like it because it makes me emotional, but there's something about it. It even makes my son emotional. And we saw him like 3 times together, and it's just like, it's crazy. And I just talked about with Freddie last week. Freddie Madball turned me on to Coldplay on the Hazen Street tour in 2004.
Oh,
and
really?
He played me Parachutes. Yeah, and he loved them. And people probably freak out that he's not allowed to listen to that kind of music, but he turned me on to Coldplay. Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
Oh, and the Beyonce song. I can't tell you.
With the one with Chris?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that one.
The Beyonce one with Chris Martin. There's a Rihanna
it's
one
called
with him too.
Him for the Weekend.
Yes, Him for the Weekend. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So, and there's a great remix of Lost with Jay-Z. You should check that out too.
Okay.
Those two are like boys. One time I went to, this is the last thing I'm going to say. One time I went to Crossroads, and it was packed, and at one booth was Jay-Z with Chris Martin eating. They're like,
wow, that's
amazing. They're like best friends, supposedly.
I love that.
Now, I don't want to always ask Tall, like, who paid the bill? Who paid it first or who tipped, you know? That's a cool combo, though.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check my notes. This is great having you. This has been awesome catching up with you. We covered your whole life, your incredible life, your journey. Kitchen Mouse, everybody listening. I'm excited to go check it out. Stop being a poser. You're my friend. I should have been there a million times. But it's crazy because everything is so spread out here. That could take like 40 minutes to get there. And it's probably not even 10 miles away. Who knows how many miles it is. I'm gonna check.
I think my navigation from there to here was 28 minutes.
I wonder how many miles it was. Yeah. Depending what time of day. It sucks because we all live in Cali and there's so many of us that like are friends, but we're all spread out. It's just, that's why I wish it was like, that's what I do miss about New York, walking and taking the subway.
Mm-hmm.
I really miss that.
Yeah.
I hate driving. I didn't have a car. I sold my car a year ago, got my son a car. I take Ubers. I take those little bird scooters. I fucking walk. I jog. I just love my life without a car.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Wait, didn't you like not get your license forever?
Till I was 33, yeah.
Yeah. And then you had to do it to go to the hospital when
Max was born.
Yeah. I remember this story.
Moon, it's like you can't go into the, you can't be there when your son's born unless you get a license.
Unless you get a license. I remember that.
And I drove her there like a fucking grandma, like under the speed limit, like white knuckling it, but I got us there and we had the baby. But yeah, my wife made me get my license. But yeah, I never driven highways, maybe once. I have a massive fear of that. So I just started going to therapy. So hopefully I'm going to find out why I hate flying and why I don't drive on highways. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to dig deep into my mind.
That's great.
You've had therapy?
Uh-huh.
You like it?
We all need therapy.
You think it's important, right?
I do.
Did you get it at a young age or later on in life?
Later.
Okay. After your mom probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never got therapy since my dad passed at a very young age. Nobody in my family has ever gotten therapy, and I'm the first one to do it and break the cycle, I guess, of my family doing it. Yeah. I'm excited. I've been there once already. I'm waiting for my second appointment, but...
Oh, wow. This is really new.
Yeah, I got inspired by one of my guests. The podcast's not out yet. She talked about it. She inspired me, and I went to her person who's amazing, and yeah, it's a big deal. I didn't even tell my wife or my son. I told them when I came home, like they were like shocked. Because it's been talked about in my house and in my marriage,
That's amazing.
Just about having dad issues and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just kind of nervous now because it's like, what if I dig deep and I find something that I'm like, oh, I really didn't want to know that. Because I guess the brain blocks out different traumatic things in your life,
Or What if it's amazing?
I know.
What if it all works out?
It can only elevate me in a sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What if my person's like, you're just perfect, just leave? And I'm just kidding. Well, thank you for being here. This is awesome.
I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah, this is so chill. We're talking. We're just fucking. But I learned a lot about you. And yeah, Kitchen Mouse, everybody. Highland Park. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna post about this week. I'm gonna pull up there Friday, and eat some food. Thanks for listening.
Thank you,
everybody.
Toby.
Thank you. Bye. I always ask my guests if they have any regrets. I personally don't have any regrets. Even when it comes to my tattoos, I have the silliest tattoos. Even my ET on my leg, it's still a childhood memory for me, and I love it. I've had tattoos on top of tattoos strictly because I wanted more tattoos. I started getting tattoos when I was 18. I'm 52 now, and I can't stop. I've had laser treatment before on something on my arm. It's 4 tattoos on top of each other. And that experience at that place was pretty fast. It was pretty cold. It was in and out, swiped the credit card. Don't really tell me much, didn't give me much details or anything was going to happen. So I never went back. So as of most recently, I'm so lucky enough to have had 2 sessions at Removery Tattoo Removal. My tattoo on my arm that looks like a big black blob is now super light. I've had 2 sessions. I have a long road ahead of me. None of this stuff happens overnight. You cannot take a tattoo up in one sitting. You have to be patient. And it's painful. They ice you up. It's super fast. To me, it felt like a bunch of rubber bands. But what's more painful than that is looking at something on your body that you think you're stuck with for the rest of your life. That sucks. But now for me, I'm really happy I started this journey. I'm slowly going to get this tattoo removed. I never thought in a million years I have any kind of real estate on my arm. I don't even know what I want, but it's exciting. I'm so honored to announce that One Life, One Chance podcast is now with Removery. I have a code. Use TobyH20 and get $100 off your first session. Call 866-934-4570 or go to removery.com. One of the most experienced tattoo removal companies in the world. Over 600,000 removal treatments done. 100 locations. US, Canada, and Australia. State-of-the-art Pico-Way laser technology. Cryo-technology to reduce any discomfort. This is so exciting for me because all I do in these podcasts is talk about tattoos. From day one, if you've been listening to this podcast, we talk about tattoos, talk about getting removed, talk about getting covered up. So this is such a perfect fit for me. Once again, go to removery.com or call 866-934-4570. Use my code TobyH20 and get $100 off. These guys are located everywhere. Try it out.